The following is a production of Neural Network Media and is completely AI generated. It is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only.
Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, March 1st, 2026. And as we sit here at the dawn of a new month, I find myself, I'm struck by the weight of the moral architecture we're building right now. It's no joke, man. We're watching the old structures crumble, and we're trying to see what stands, what's true.
Well, Walter, some things are standing a little straighter than others this morning. I'm Diane Albright, and this is the Neural Right, your daily dose of common sense in a world that, honestly, seems like it's trying to win an award for most ridiculous reality.
It's a busy show today, Diane. A solid lineup. We have to look at the restoration of justice in Texas, a very moving story, and then the rather pathetic display of leadership in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, we're going there. Trust me. We've got the Drunk on the Job Caucus in Washington State, the History Rocks tour trying to save our kids' brains, and my personal favorite, Gavin Newsom's latest, let's call it a literary disaster. It's a packed episode, folks.
And just thinking back to yesterday, roughly speaking, we were discussing Operation Epic Fury. The sheer magnitude of that shift from surgical strikes to actual leadership.
Right, and let's not forget the Paramount-Warner merger. I'm still laughing about CNN potentially having to talk to real Americans now. Honey, they aren't ready for us. They are terrified.
Well, it's the collapse of the gatekeepers, you see. The hierarchies are resetting. And speaking of resetting, we have to start with something that, honestly, it makes my voice crack just thinking about the injustice of it. The Austin yogurt shop murders.
Oh, Walter, I know. This one is heavy.
It's more than heavy. It's a catastrophe of the soul. A Texas judge has officially exonerated Michael Scott and Robert Springsteen for the 1991 murders of those 4 young girls. These men, they've spent decades with the shadow of the state's ultimate condemnation over them.
And let's be clear, CBS and the local Austin stations are reporting that the DNA evidence, the actual objective truth, finally caught up to the confessions that were, let's be honest, coerced or manipulated back in the 90s.
Exactly. It's the devouring mother archetype of the state trying to find a solution to a tragedy by creating a second tragedy. They wanted closure, but they sacrificed the truth on the altar of bureaucratic expediency. It's bloody heartbreaking to think of those men, young men then, having their lives stripped away because the system, it just wanted the chaos dragon to be put back in the box, regardless of who it crushed.
It's the ultimate failure of the protect and serve mandate. But Walter, if you want to see where that bureaucratic incompetence is currently thriving, we have to look at Washington State.
Ah, yes. The House Majority Leader.
Joe Fitzgibbon, Democrat, West Seattle. Honey, this is the reality check of the century. Last Thursday, the man shows up to a budget hearing for a state facing a $1.8 billion deficit, and he is, by all accounts, completely hammered.
It's a total lack of respect for the office.
A total mess. He's on video slurring his words, glassy-eyed. The committee chair had to call a recess just to deal with him. And then he has the nerve to come back and give a 5-minute slurred speech anyway.
Well, it's the thing. It's the narcissism of the elites. They think the rules of basic human competency don't apply to them because they're doing the work. But if you can't even maintain your own internal sovereignty, if you can't even stay sober to manage the taxpayers' money, how can you claim to lead a hierarchy? It's a manifestation of pure resentment toward the responsibility of the role.
Give me a break. He issued an apology saying he made a poor choice. No, Joe, a poor choice is wearing socks with sandals, showing up to manage $2 billion of other people's money while you're seeing double? That's an insult to every working person in Washington who has to show up on time and sober just to keep their lights on.
It's the postmodern deconstruction of standards, Diane. If nothing is true and everything is just power, then why not be drunk? It's bloody cynical. It reminds me of the fragmentation we're seeing in our culture.
Which brings us to the kids. Because while the grown-ups in the State House are playing bartender, the Department of Education is actually, well, they're trying something radical. They're trying to teach history.
Imagine that. Secretary Linda McMahon is kicking off this History Rocks tour. Roughly speaking, it's an attempt to restore the foundational narrative before the 250th anniversary of the country.
And the Boeing Freedom plane. I love it. They're taking the story of America directly to the students. But of course, the ingrates are already protesting. Up in Illinois, Genoa Kingston High, the kids were polarized, according to Northern Public Radio.
Why is it polarizing to love your country? It's because the neo-Marxists have spent 40 years telling these children that their architecture of being is built on a graveyard. They've removed the hero from the story and replaced him with systemic oppression.
It's poison, Walter, and look at what it's doing to the boys.
I read that report, Diane. Boys in the digital wild. 75% of teenage boys are getting their masculinity content from algorithms because the fathers aren't there. The pastors are afraid of the minefield of the pulpit. Pastor Tim out in Fremont, he's been at it since 1973. He says the culture has just, well, it's fragmented.
It has.
It makes me want to cry. It really does. These young men are wandering in a desert of likes and vibe checks, and they have no one to tell them, clean your room, stand up straight, be a man who can be relied upon. Instead, we give them, what, Gavin Newsom?
Oh, don't get me started on Gavin, but before we get to his 960 SAT brain fart, we need to take a quick second to recognize how we're even able to have this conversation.
Right. The mission.
Exactly. Before we get back to the analysis, let's deal with a hard reality. Real independence isn't free. This entire network, from this show to our flagship, The Neural Daily, exists because one man, Eric Christensen, decided to build it himself. He didn't ask for a government grant. He invested his own capital and technical expertise to architect a media platform that respects your intelligence. Pause. If you value that kind of meritocratic building, back it up. And don't limit yourself to just the politics. Get the full strategic picture by subscribing to the Neural Daily and the rest of the network. Support the builder, and you support the mission.
It's no joke. Building is the only answer to deconstruction. And as speaking of building, or rather the lack of building, let's look at Massachusetts. The exodus is, well, it's accelerating.
Honey, the Taxachusetts nickname is back with a vengeance. The data is out. 182,000 residents have fled in 2020. That's the entire population of Cambridge. Gone.
It's according to the recent economic reports. It's the millionaire's tax. It's the devouring nature of the tax code. They think they can just bleed the high earners indefinitely, but people have agency. You see, they aren't just pawns on a board. They can move to Florida. They can move to New Hampshire.
And they are, because the median home price in Massachusetts is $635,000. In Florida, it's $399,000. It doesn't take a Harvard degree to do that math. Though with the way the Ivies are going, a Harvard degree might actually make you worse at math.
It's the competence crisis. You see it in Texas, too. The state is suing a wind turbine recycler because they dumped 3,000 giant blades in a field in Sweetwater.
Green energy, Walter. The lighthouse of the future is just a pile of fiberglass trash that's never going to decompose.
It's the deception of the utopian vision. They tell you that if we just sacrifice enough, we'll have a clean world. But the reality, the material reality, is a pile of junk in a field. It's a lie. It's a spiritual lie that manifests as environmental degradation.
It's embarrassing. It really is. But you know what's even more embarrassing? Trying to bond with people by telling them you're, well, not very bright.
You're talking about Governor Newsom.
Oh, please. Young Man in a Hurry. That's the name of his new memoir. He's on this national tour, basically launching his 2028 run, and he goes to Atlanta to talk to a largely black audience, and he says, and I am not making this up, I'm like you. I'm a 960 SAT guy.
It's so condescending. It's postmodern neo-Marxist identity politics at its absolute worst.
Senator Tim Scott absolutely destroyed him for this. He said, rightly, Black Americans aren't your low bar. Newsom thinks he can use his dyslexia as a shield to pander to people he clearly thinks have low expectations. Honey, no.
He's trying to deconstruct his own privilege in a way that's, honestly, it's pathologically narcissistic. He thinks that by lowering himself, he's being relatable. But he's not lowering himself. He's insulting the merit of everyone in that room. He doesn't understand that, roughly speaking, people want a leader who is competent, not a leader who is just as flawed as they are in some manufactured way.
It's the angle, Walter. He's always working the angle. He's the slickest guy in the room trying to convince you he's a ragtag underdog. It's fake. It's as fake as those wind turbine blades.
But then look at New York. Look at the Trojan horse of Zohran Mamdani.
Now, this is fascinating. A Democratic socialist mayor who used to call Trump a fascist suddenly goes to the Oval Office for a meeting.
It's political realism. Mamdani is a socialist, yes, but he's realizing that the architecture of New York City is crumbling under the weight of the migrant crisis and the fiscal hole. So what does he do? He goes to the ultimate builder.
The art of the deal in the Oval Office. Mamdani wants $50 billion for the MTA and housing. And Trump, according to the reports, is listening because he wants to show he can fix the blue cities that the liberals broke.
It's a strange bedfellows situation, but it's actually returned to pragmatism. It's common sense breaking through the ideological fog. If the socialist mayor and the nationalist president can talk about fixing the subways, then the postmodern spell is starting to break.
I'll believe it when I see the trains running on time, Walter. But it's better than what we had.
It's about individual excellence. It reminds me of the Regal Princess cruise ship this week.
Oh, the rescue. I saw that.
7-day Caribbean cruise, and they see a rusted makeshift boat in the Gulf. 4 people bailing water with buckets. The captain, the sovereign individual in charge of that ship, doesn't wait for a committee. He doesn't check the identity of the people in the boat. He sees a distress and he acts.
And the passengers were cheering from the decks. That's the real America. That's the individual spirit we're talking about. When someone is drowning, you pull them up. You don't ask for their SAT score, Gavin.
Exactly. You fulfill your duty. You maintain the law of the sea. It's a beautiful thing. It's a lighthouse in a very dark world. We're seeing these pockets of sanity emerge, Diane. From the History Rocks tour to the rescue at sea, even to the drunk lawmaker getting called out, the shame is returning, and shame is the beginning of responsibility.
Well, I've got enough shame to go around for the entire DC circuit, trust me. But we're out of time. Walter, any final words for the youth before you start crying again?
Just, everyone, clean your room. It's Sunday. Prepare your internal architecture for the week. It's no joke. The world is chaotic, but your being doesn't have to be.
And if you can't clean your room, at least stay sober at the budget hearing. That's a low bar, people. Let's clear it.
Roughly speaking, yes.
This has been The Neural Right. Subscribe, support the mission, and we will see you tomorrow.
Godspeed.